Hello out there today. This is Coach EJ, the brand, Eric Johnson.
And Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. What you got for us today, EJ? What's the deal?
Well, hey man, this is cool, but welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's good. I want to say that there's a quick shout out there to everybody. Aaron, what we got going on today is the verbiage of verbal commitment. What does that mean today in this land of opportunity during post-COVID or COVID type years? So I'm going to talk a little bit about, get us started, Aaron, a little bit about what is verbal commitment. And verbal commitment is when a university of a sport, obviously, says, hey, listen, we'd like you to further your education with us and your athletic ability with us. And we are saying to you that you are committing to us and we're committing to you at this present time. So, it's not like having a scholarship, because a scholarship means that, during your senior year, the fall of your senior year, you sign that letter of commitment, NLI. But verbal commitment is totally different. It means that you're promising. It's like a promissory note. I'm promising that you will be on my campus when you sign that NLI. That's what that means from the standpoint of a coach saying that to a player. A player saying it to the university or to the coach is, hey, yes, I like the promissory note you're sending me. I do want to commit, and I'm going to put it out there on Twitter, Instagram, everything, and let everybody know that I'm verbally committed to you and I'm hands off to all the other recruiters that might be recruiting me right now. And that's what people do. That's a verbal commitment. That's kind of like the down and dirty part of it right now. And Aaron, I tell you, that has changed so drastically in the last 18 months. Like, that was a thing 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Verbal commitments were pretty solid. They're very solid. Colleges would not renege on their promises and would be there for that player. Now, I'm going to tell you, man, it's free agency, wild, wild west out there. If a player commits to a university, I say, hey, that's good for that day or maybe that week, but things could change. If that player doesn't develop, man, things could change. That player is having a bad summer, having a bad fall, a bad high school season. Man, there are so many layers to this verbal commitment, and I'd like us to attack that today, Aaron.
Yeah. It's always been kind of cloudy and murky to me. And, I've just felt until you've got the scholarship offer that nothing is guaranteed. I think the verbal commitment gives you a higher probability, but it's, I guess if you use the dating analogy, it's like, okay, we're going to go out and date, but I'm still going to reserve the right to see other people,
right,
until we decide to get married,
right.
And I think with the athletes, it's more a commitment on their end than it may be on the end of the college.
Right.
And a lot of things can happen, especially, you've got these kids who commit at 15, do a verbal freshman at 15 years old.
Yeah.
When the landscape of a college program, in 4 or 5 years can change drastically.
Right.
Coaches move around. Some programs, get canceled. There's staffing changes. There's the needs of the team, evolve over that time. And so what might look like a fit at age 15 isn't a fit at age 18, 19. And then, they, I guess, rescind that verbal commitment.
Right.
And the athlete hasn't really played the field a little bit.
Right.
And dated other people. So now they're caught flat-footed. And so, I talked to a lot of softball athletes, and,
okay,
there's this kind of thing where, kids are verbally in middle school and all that sort of thing. I said, and I just tell them, hey, that's great. I'm glad that they're interested in you, but that's a long ways off. And a lot of things can change with you as an athlete and with them as a program. And, athletes get better and they get worse,
Right.
And so I think that, should always keep your eyes open and your options open, even if, it is the school that you want to go to and the coach that you want to play for. Right. And understand that, hey, it doesn't hurt to have a plan B and to kind of keep your eyes open more and more as you get closer to, signing time, because right. You may also have this verbal commitment. It gets to a point where you're going to sign, but the package isn't what you want, So maybe they're going to offer you 25%, Now, what do? And you've kind of not looked at any other offers that may be better. Now you can be stuck. So, I just say, be wary, look at a lot of different options and keep your eyes open.
Boy, you mentioned some great points, and I want to dive into two of those, Aaron. One is that keeping your options open and the package. First thing, keeping your options open. And you mentioned the school's needs could change. If you at 8th grade committed or as a freshman in high school committed, I tell you, 4 years, 5 years down the road, that university could change. So I like what you said about there. You have to keep your options open, and the package that they might initially give you might change during those 4 to 5 years. They might come back to you, just before the signing period and say, listen, we need this other pitcher. Are you all right just taking 50% now instead of 75?
Right.
Stuff like this happens all the time. And I think it's always good to understand it's just like, that verbal commitment is a soft promise. And I say soft promise because you never know what has happened. I've seen so many athletes in the past 18 months get their verbal commitment rescinded on just based on those kind of reasonings. Mm-hmm. The second thing is why you keep your options open. Maybe you haven't developed as fast as the university has thought you would, and you thought everything was great, mm-hmm. but they all of a sudden said, it doesn't seem like this is working out. Mm-hmm. And if you put all your eggs in one basket without saying, hey, what if things change? What are my other options? Because, unwritten law is that because you said verbally doesn't mean that you can't still continue to have other people talk for you if something like that happens. It's not a written contract yet until the NLI is signed.
Right. And national letter of intent.
National letter of intent for all those who don't know what we're talking about. Yeah. I like what you said about the options is very, very important. Another thing, Aaron, is verbal commitment in this day and age. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Does it mean that in COVID, and I say this in the NCAA portal, things have changed now. Mm-hmm. Colleges are going more after that seasoned athlete that has had 3 years already playing Division I baseball, and maybe they're a grad student. Mm-hmm. And this school wants to get that player in there to help the coach, help their team win. That can change your verbal commitment too. There are so many layers to this about the transfer portal. There's a direct relationship between verbal commitment and the transfer portal now. There really is. It's a year-to-year contract for all these kids, whether they've signed a national letter of intent or if they're verbally to that. So I want to peel back that a little bit because there's this thing is deep, Aaron.
So go ahead.
I think families need to understand that. So go ahead.
So, is it a good strategy then to, I don't know necessarily, depends on how far you are, but maybe check in every year and kind of reaffirm what their needs are and what their resources are and how you may fit in the program. Again, maybe at 8th grade, you don't have to check in every year, but
Right.
I think at least it would seem stand the reason that by your junior year, you should be having probably more thorough conversations with them about, what their intentions are with you.
Exactly. I think right during your rising junior year, during that summer, you should be having these conversations with them. And it doesn't mean you have to commit them, but you should be having a little bit more serious dialogue, and they should be watching you through the fall of your junior year. And they probably have a good idea if you're gonna fit in their program by then. If you're not a blue chip guy.
Right.
There's a difference. Blue chip guys, they're going to fit in right away from the freshman year all the way to the senior year. But remember, 99% of those guys are not blue chip players. Okay. So that's like, we're talking about everybody then. So they do need to check in. And be honest with you, once a year is great. But I even tell those guys before their junior year, if they have an early commitment, check in once a month. Just to say, hey, coach, how you doing? Because you need to build that relationship and see if that relationship changes. See how they talk to you. See how they communicate to you. Are you seeing any kind of difference? Is the head coach talking to you? Is the recruiting guy talking to you? The associate head coach talking to you? I think that plays into it. But again, not to get off that point, Aaron, I think what you said about the junior year is it's really critical during that summer and fall. There needs to be dialogue because they're going to cross-check in April and early March. They're going to cross-check and see how your high school stats are doing. And if they have any other questions, like they're unsure, they're going to see your first 2 weeks in the summer and they're going to make a decision right then. They are. That's the latest. I think they would say, hey, money wise, we'll do this for a position player. Pitchers are different. I think pitchers are a different animal. There are not enough pitchers out there. They may wait a little bit longer rather than a position player. And I think that's something the audience out there should know, is that pitchers, there's not enough pitching ever. And they can always, find money for pitchers, as I always say, or find a roster spot for pitchers if needed. So I think that's important to understand that what's that verbal commitment and what does that mean really in this day and age?
Excellent. Oh, good points.
I think the last point, Aaron, before we do anything else, is that I tell parents and athletes out there, what really is a verbal commitment for you guys? Is that something that you want to send out there to everybody and let everybody know? I mean, if I had a verbal commitment, I wouldn't publicize it, to be honest with you. I'd just say, okay, if people want to know and they want to ask me, I would do that. I'd leave it at that. I wouldn't put it all out there and let everybody know. I just say, hey, listen, yes, I verbally commit to you, and that's it. I wouldn't put it on my social media and start going crazy about it. I keep it very, very quiet because you know what? The university's not putting it on their website that they have a verbal commitment. So why should you do the same thing by doing that? That makes no sense to me why we do that. And I think that's my last point there, is that keep it to yourself. You tell your family and friends, that's fine, but you don't need to put it blasted out there. And, I think it hurts your opportunities to have options in the future.
So they're treating you like a side chick.
Absolutely. Well said there, man. Well said there. Yeah. But
all right.
I love that right there. Hey, you got anything else, Aaron, on that subject, man? I think that's pretty cool.
It's time for us to go, but that was pretty good. Good subject. I just wanted to have a brief conversation about that, because I hear that term a lot, and I'm always talking to a lot of the younger athletes who think that's the end all be all, and they don't really understand what that commitment is, and on both sides,
right?
How it should be viewed. I mean, it's a great first step, but it's not the final step. So make them put a ring on it. Our dating analogy.
I love that. Well, anyway, hey, thanks for joining us today. And this is Eric Johnson, the brand.
And this is Aaron Thickman, the source. We'll see you.